Friday, October 29th, 1993, was a full day of fun for the students at Eureka Elementary School in Granite Bay, California, as they celebrated Halloween. They went from classroom to classroom trick-or-treating and had a fall festival. After the day's festivities concluded and the students went home, 5th grade teacher Cherilyn Hawkley stayed late to clean up from the celebration. She was seen cleaning up popcorn around 4:30 p.m., and the school's janitor saw that her minivan was still in the parking lot at 5:30. When he went out to the parking lot again around 6, the minivan was gone. Cherilyn never arrived home, however, and her boyfriend quickly became concerned. He went to the school to look for her, but did not find her there. He called Cherilyn's family to see if they had heard from her before reporting her missing. It would not be until the day of the holiday she had just been celebrating with her students, Halloween, that Cherilyn would be located. That night, a deputy out on patrol saw Cherilyn's Dodge Caravan minivan pulled off of East Roseville Parkway in a wooded area. The location was less than a mile away from the school where Cherilyn taught and had last been seen. Curiously, it was within view of another school, Oak Hills Elementary. Cherilyn's body was discovered in the vehicle's back seat. She was just 39 years old. At the time of her death, Cherilyn had been going through a period of major change. She'd applied for the position at Eureka Elementary after going through a divorce. She and her ex-husband had been married for 15 years and had 3 children together, 2 daughters and a son. Cherilyn's daughter Heather, who was just 14 years old at the time of her mother's death, would later describe Cherilyn as the best mother ever. Cherilyn was loving and full of life. She and Heather shared a love of Whitney Houston and would blast her music when they were in the car or at home cleaning, singing or lip-syncing along to their favorite songs. Cherilyn's loving nature, which made her such a great mother, also helped her quickly endear herself to her students. Heather was proud of her mother for being hired for the position at Eureka Elementary because so many people had applied for it, and Cherilyn was overjoyed to have been selected for the job. When interviewed even decades later, the students who had been in her class enthusiastically recalled what a great teacher she was. Cherilyn's autopsy found that she had died as the result of ligature strangulation. She was found partially clothed, but tests to determine if she had been sexually assaulted were inconclusive. Authorities believed that she was killed the night she was last seen, the 29th. Robbery did not appear to be the motive for the murder, as her purse and several other personal items were still inside the van. Cherilyn's boyfriend and ex-husband were investigated but quickly ruled out as suspects in the case, as were Cherilyn's co-workers at the school. However, investigators do not believe that Cherilyn was killed by a stranger. When the case first started, there was definitely a sense that it was probably somebody who at least knew her, somebody familiar with the area, and to a large extent, that remains true today. Placer County Sheriff's Detective Brian Madison stated in 2016. There were reported sightings of an unknown individual sitting in a Volkswagen Beetle at Cherilyn's school on October 29th, but following up on that lead did not produce any useful information. Authorities also considered that Cherilyn's murder may have been connected to the unsolved murder of 35-year-old Cindy Wanner, who was killed in November of 1991. Like Cherilyn, she had been strangled to death and disappeared in Granite Bay. She had been at her sister's house with her 11-month-old daughter. Her sister and brother-in-law left the home, and when Cindy's husband arrived at the house approximately 45 minutes after they left, Cindy's car, jacket, and shoes were there, but Cindy was not. Her young daughter had been left unattended but unharmed in her high chair. 19 days after she disappeared, Cindy's body was discovered by a quail hunter off of Forest Hill Road east of Auburn. She was found face down amongst some trees and was wearing only a bra, although tests to see if she had been sexually assaulted came back inconclusive. Unlike Cherilyn, who appears to have been killed the night she went missing, Cindy had been kept alive somewhere for approximately 2 weeks before she was murdered. In 2017, it was reported that Cindy's case was still being investigated by the Placer County Sheriff's Office, and that there is a large amount of evidence available in the case. However, the Sheriff's Office is still looking for witnesses who can help them put that evidence into context to move the case forward. Investigators working on Cherilyn's case ultimately concluded, based on the differing circumstances and the different behavioral patterns between the killers in each case, that the two cases were not connected. In 2015, the Placer County Sheriff's Office began a major effort to finally solve Cherilyn's case. They resubmitted numerous pieces of evidence in the case, including the rope they believe Cherilyn was strangled with, to the lab in hopes that advances in technology would provide them with new clues and potentially the DNA profile of Cherilyn's killer. While they waited on the results of the new testing, they engaged in less high-tech means of investigation as well, revisiting the scene where Cherilyn's body and her car were found, re-interviewing witnesses, and meticulously going through the thousands of pages of documents that make up Cherilyn's case file. Detective Chris Joyce stated that he believed he knew who was responsible for Cherilyn's murder in 2016, and hoped that the new testing would reveal DNA evidence that could conclusively tie that individual to the murder. Unfortunately, the renewed effort and advanced testing ultimately did not identify new evidence that led to an arrest in the case. Investigators still hope that the evidence they do have will help them secure a conviction, should they be able to identify the correct suspect. They believe that Cherilyn's killer has already come up in the investigation in some capacity, and they continue to work trying to identify them. A permanent memorial was created for Cherilyn at Eureka Elementary, bearing the names of all the students in her class, who had all wanted to ensure that she would never be forgotten.